Okay, we are live. Good morning, everyone. I'm Vidette Mayer. Thank you for being here. I'm dropping stuff as I get myself organized. Welcome to our second daily tune in. This is an opportunity for us to come together every day and tune into the frequencies of the day. If you know anything about me, you know that I am a healer. I am a licensed hypnotherapist, licensed creativity coach, massage therapist. I have all the things really that come down to different modalities that help heal the perceptions and the emotional energy that creates dis-ease in our lives. And what typically creates the dis-ease is that we let go of the things that we need to be aware of, the things that we need to tune into, because it's easier to do that, to just get stuff done. And we end up going months, days, months, years, lifetimes without really tuning into that which is causing us dis-ease. So these daily tune-ins are here to support you, to support your emotional health, to support your growth in emotional intelligence. I do use divination cards simply to give us confirmation of some of the things that are going on within. So as I bring in these messages from my higher consciousness and collective consciousnesses of light beings that help me along my way and in my healing work, I typically will bring these messages in intuitively and use cards or all kinds of fun things. Actually, if you work with me as a client, we do all kinds of things. We use creativity, we use doodles, we use all kinds of things to get to the root of what it is that's causing you dis-ease. So cards are simply just a vessel of a confirmation of a message. They're not telling our future. They're not, we're not using them in the stereotypical way. We're actually using them in a modern, fun way in order for us to really synthesize what it is we have to be aware of each day. So let's dive into today's. And as I as I shuffle the cards to tune into the frequency, I want to invite you to just get quiet and really tune into this. I do these. I will be doing these every single day, different times of the day, because sometimes messages don't really want to come out early in the morning. Sometimes they want to wait a little bit longer. So I want to commit to bringing you really poignant messages rather than committing to a time. So what I would like to ask is that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and that you do click the notifications button so you know when we do go live and you can join us. Otherwise, these are always going to be posted in our Ascension Network, in the Ascension Network, which is a platform that helps people increase their frequency into a higher state of being. And as a collective, the Ascension Network is creating a new existence here on Earth as we move into a higher frequency. So let's take a look at, I'm going to put those down and I want to just shuffle at our main focus for today. What is it that you and I are going to tune into as we move throughout our day and really be aware of? Keep it front of mind, because for some reason, this is what we are being asked to pay attention to today. And we're going to dig into exactly what that means. Oh my gosh, my lavender started catching on fire. Yeah, that's how I do stuff. Nothing's pretty. I got like wonkadoo stuff going on over here. I have the seam over here, and this is going to keep getting better and better. But right now, this is a temporary setting while we organize quite the up level of our lives. You can follow more of that at our Normally Weird page. All of this can be found at videttemeyer.com. All of the healing practices that I do, the abundance code activations that I do every Wednesday evening that are open and they are free to you. I do those in the Ascension Network. The Normally Weird journey that we're embarking on, that's all available for more information on my website, videttemeyer.com. Okay, the goddess energy is being called forth today. So whether you are male or female, this pertains to you. Healing feminine energy. That's an interesting one, and one I do believe is well needed. So I'm going to stick that up there. So we have our goddess energy. Actually, I'm going to leave that there. Our goddess energy is really the feminine energy that we all have, the yin, the yang, the black, the white. Whether you're female, you have, you do have that feminine energy. You also have a masculine energy. If you're male, whatever you identify with, we all have masculine and feminine energies, and those have to be tapped into in order to work with them so they flow in and out, because there is a higher purpose for each of the energies. Today, we are focusing on our goddess energy. So let's take it a little bit further. I'm using these Lemuria cards to take us into the explanation and kind of the deconstruction of what exactly we're being called to do. To give you a little bit of a background on how I do these. In my hypnotherapy work and a lot of the coaching that I have done in the past, I've done a lot of courses and workshops on the integration of the minds, the alchemy of the minds. We actually operate with three minds in our daily lives. We have our spiritual mind, which is our soul, our intuition, our connection to a higher consciousness that creates all. Whatever you call that consciousness is up to you. However, I'm going to call it the spiritual mind. This is where our soul's purpose, where our daily purpose comes from. And that is the high mind. That high mind, then, that idea, the intention of our higher consciousness, our higher selves, feeds down into our heart mind. Our heart mind is the portal between the spiritual and the physical. Therefore, how we feel really matters. I'm going to be digging into this almost every single day, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you bring those creative ideas, those big ideas, those dreams into your heart. And when those ideas fill your heart with joy and anticipation at seeing them in your life, every step of the way that you go to create the idea is going to then deliver the idea in your physical life in a way that is in alignment with the greater idea. The challenge is, in our human mind, in our human life, we also have these things called the subconscious mind, our egos. That tends to get in the way quite a bit, because even though we have an idea that we want to manifest and it feels really good, unfortunately, our minds, based on our previous experiences in life, have kind of captured all the things that we have deemed failures or distortions of thought. And those distortions of thought, when they are prevalent in our idea, what we actually manifest, even if we love the idea, what we actually manifest comes out a little bit distorted. It's not exactly what we want. Sometimes we settle for it. Sometimes it turns out to be a disaster. And sometimes we think, I will never go about a dream again because it comes out like this and it doesn't work. What we are doing in these daily tune-ups is identifying the higher idea, identifying how where we need to be aware of looking out for our mind so that it doesn't distort what the heart wants. So today, we know that goddess energy is being called forth, and the greater idea to that is really vulnerability. So the intention in mind, man, this card keeps coming up. As much as I shuffle these cards in readings, this is coming up a lot. Therefore, what I note about that is the energy of where we are cosmically, astrologically, physically, in our world. We are being called to be vulnerable. And the outside world is kind of making it easy. We are pretty much vulnerable at this point to what our outside world is doing, and yet how we respond to that comes from the inside. So how do we take this vulnerability, both on the outside in our outside world and within our inside worlds, into our hearts? How do we bring this vulnerability into the world? But first, what does it feel like? It feels like, the she of the lotus. Interesting. Some more goddess energy, some more of that feminine coming into our hearts as well. So we're going to go into these a little bit deeper, but I just wanted to kind of set the stage for today. And then once we connect with the she of the lotus, we then go down into the physical. What does this look like in the physical world? And it looks like alignment. Okay. Whoa, this is good. So a couple things here that I think are interesting. What I always say with integrating the minds, when we have these three minds and we're aware of them day in and day out, when they integrate, that is when we are in the flow. We are in the absolute grace and ease of the manifestation of the bigger idea into the physical world. If we just stay we stay aligned. And yet it's funny because I've always had a challenge with that, because align means all in a row to me, whereas integration means all one. So I'm going to take this idea of alignment, but I'm going to use the word integration because we want to integrate everything that we cover today into our life today so that we are fully integrated in the flow and energy. How do we get into that flow? First, by taking a look at how are we making ourselves vulnerable to and blocking or distorting our feminine energy. So let's dig into that a little bit more. It's what's coming up for me as the message for today is our vulnerability is our greatest strength, and it can also be a great weakness if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable by not bringing our full selves forward. I have an old pickle jar, jalapeno dill pickles. It's how we do it in Texas. We just drink our water from um, big old mason jars, old pickle jars. I think it's fun. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into the vulnerability. What do we need to know more about the topic of the intention for today, which is bringing our vulnerable goddess energy into the plan. So we need to surrender to the sweetness, pleasure, make love to life. And this is such a sweet, sweet tune in because it is very feminine. It is very goddessy. It is very sweet in that it's calling us to literally just surrender today, to surrender to the vulnerability of your goddess energy. What does she want you to do? What is she calling you to do? I have a beautiful friend named Yvonne who has Hula for the Soul, and she connects. She's a coach and healer, and connects people to the goddess energy of the Hawaiian goddesses. I've done her work. I've been in her groups. I've done her Hawaii retreat. They are absolutely phenomenal. And why I bring that up is because the goddess energy has always been something that I kind of avoided. I am, very in tune with my intuition, very in tuned into the feminine. However, the goddess energy has always been something that I have found that I have resisted, and I believe a lot of that is more in the physical for me. The vulnerability of that in me was a lot of the shame that I put on my own self around my body, and the sensual nature of who I was, I couldn't quite find. And that is still something that is a vulnerability for me, but one that I am aware of and one that I am exploring. So therefore, because of that being in my own consciousness, I know that matches the consciousness of others as well, and especially women. So what I'm being called to share with you today is some of this vulnerability, this goddess energy, this making love to life really is tuning into how can you make love to yourself. And I'm not talking about sometimes the fun physical ways that we can do that. I'm really talking about how can you nurture your life today? How can you nurture your inner goddess? Is it through some self-care? Is it through making a fabulous meal that helps to lift you up and put you in a creative mode? Is it really just resting? Is it writing? Is it creatively expressing yourself in some way when you've realized that you have been putting your creative expression on the back burner because of all the other things? Today is not the day to do that. Today is really the day to say, okay, as difficult as it is, I have all of this stuff to do. I'm going to put that aside and really get vulnerable, because vulnerability comes up when you're uncomfortable with leaving all the things on the counter to do, or all the things on the to-do list to do, in order to really dip into the sweetness and the love of life. So as you start to tune into that and you start to surrender, what is it saying? Surrender to the sweetness. That is I mean, like, it is sweet. I love that. I love that card. But as you start to do that, let's dig in a little bit more into the she of the lotus. The first thing that I notice about, now this is the feeling part. How are you tuning into the feeling? Because remember, the feeling is how you pull this idea into your field, into your emotional energetic field. And once it's there, you have the idea, which is vulnerability and surrendering to the sweetness. That is the electric. The feeling is the magnet. This is what you're going to pull in. The feeling is what you're going to start to pull in from the outside world in order to create it. Therefore, we want to be on point with where we are feeling our feelings today, because we have this emotional ladder. And when our feeling, I should actually leave this here, when our feeling is down here and we start to want to tune into our goddessy selves, and yet we're shaming ourselves from leaving things on the to-do list, unfortunately, shame's way down here. And this is the life constricting emotional part of the ladder. Anything we do from these emotions, with these emotions in our heart, we're going to create more stuff to be shameful for, or to be angry for, or to be fearful of. And that is not the time to be creating anything, because we have got to get ourselves up in the feeling mode, up into these life expanding emotions like courage and willingness, optimism, and then moving into those higher vibrational and higher frequency levels of love, joy, peace, and bliss. This is where our goal is. That when we are working on anything having to do with what we're being called to be aware of today, we are feeling it in an expansive way in our hearts. So the She of the Lotus is a really powerful card. And if you notice down here, she has a lotus in what I'm going to call kind of her throat chakra area. So what we're being called to really pay attention to is, how do we feel about the things that we say? So there's something in the vulnerability piece in using our voice and using your voice today, and noticing, paying attention to, when I'm using my voice, how am I feeling? Am I feeling like I'm holding back on saying what I really want to say because I don't want to hurt someone? Or can I increase the vulnerability a bit so that I can actually be vulnerable, but be kind in my words, speak what it is I really want to be speaking, and feel as if I'm expanding into the courage to be myself, to be vulnerable, to be myself, and actually say what I want to say. That's what we're being called. And we do it from a place when we are in that life expansive feeling mode, we do that then from a place of love. And when we are vulnerable with our voice and vulnerable with our words, and we say our truth, and from that life expansive place of love, it always helps us heal and grow. The courage that we used to actually speak our truth and do it from a place of love actually grows and heals us in a way, heals any distortions of fear that were stopping us from being fully vulnerably us. So that is what we are being called today, to use your voice. And when that happens, the expansiveness and all of this crown chakra energy connects us in to that higher mind, that higher version of ourselves, our higher selves. We get vulnerable enough to connect in with her or him, or with it, our higher self, and everything flows. Ideas start to flow, solutions to problems start to flow. Our heart expands even more. The more you bring vulnerability from a place of love, the more everything expands. Your perceptions expand. Everything does. It's just how it works. The electromagnetic field of the intention of expansion coming from a place of courage at the very least, or love, then just has to expand. It's quantum physics. Therefore, when we actually manifest alignment in the physical world, things start to fall in place. Everything starts to happen. It's small incremental steps forward towards a higher level of being. Today, our higher level of being is actually being the goddess energy, being the vulnerable, beautiful, soulful self that feels into what it is she wants to say. She uses her intuition to put the words together in a kind and loving manner. And when that happens, alignment happens. And look at all of this energy. Look how these kind of flow together. Alignment creates a lot of connective energy to our higher self, to our soul star, whatever you want to call it, to our to God, to nature, to whatever it is that you call that higher consciousness that created everything, whatever that is to you. When you are connected in today, always have to be aligned in all aspects, but for especially today, your voice and your intuition. The other thing is, this card is 43. That is revealing being very, very in tune to your intuition. What are you being called to do? Honoring that. No matter what you have on your to-do list, no matter what you have on your schedule, you must find time to be vulnerable in your goddess energy, in what it is you want to say. Pay attention to what ideas are coming to your mind, so that when you actually say yes to these ideas that they come in, you are in full alignment or integration with all three of your minds, and that stuff starts to happen fast. Solutions start to happen. Synchronicities start to happen, successes start to happen. And that is the momentum you are starting today by tuning in to the vulnerability of your goddess energy. How beautiful is that? I absolutely love this. And I hope that this has helped you have a little bit of focus for today, energetic focus. I know you've got focus because you've got your to-do list. I know you have focus because you've got your schedule and you've got your calendar and you've got your Zoom meeting set up. But what I'm asking you to focus on today, what we are being asked to focus on today, is really being vulnerable. And there's another word that wants to come through, being very vulnerable and grounded in your goddess energy today. And if that makes you uncomfortable, simply go with it. It's for one day. Experiment with it. Tomorrow will be a whole new chapter of awareness. But today, it's really being vulnerable in your goddess energy. So thank you for being here. I want to invite you over to learn more at videttemeyer.com on everything in the Ascension Network that we're doing. Our Normally Weird journey is about to kick off, as well as any healing work for those who are feeling their hearts are heavy. If you're feeling like you just need to shed that which makes your heart heavy, I am an alchemist of transformation. I've had a client call me that. That's why I actually use those words. And I can help you ease the dis-ease that you may feel. So come on over to videttemeyer.com, connect with me, leave me a message today on how you plan on bringing your vulnerable goddess energy to the forefront today. I would love to hear it. Thanks for being here. Please subscribe. Please share these daily tune-ups. I would love to have more people on them and serve you in some way, and serve the world in some way, to bring a little bit of hope and love and inspiration to humanity. Thanks for being here. Mwah. Have a good one.